The following module discusses the definition of maternal mortality. The World Health Organization definition is the standard definition and is discussed in the module. Also discussed are measures used in the study of maternal mortality, such as the maternal mortality ratio, the proportion of maternal mortality, lifetime risk of maternal mortality, and other such factors. The various sources of maternal mortality data are the civil registration system, hospital records, household surveys, census, and mortality studies. Limitations of such data sources are particularly striking with regard to maternal mortality data, whose measure depends on such data. For instance, there is significant underreporting, and civil registration systems have a limited coverage. Hospital records only limit their data to hospital deaths and not those outside. However, maternal mortality can also be calculated indirectly through available data from the registration and survey data using two approaches. One is the direct approach of estimating maternal mortality, and the other is the indirect approach of estimation of maternal mortality, also known as Sisterhood method, which is discussed in the following module. Also discusses are the trends in maternal mortality ratio, including that of India, where there was seen to be decline in maternal mortality rate much faster than the decline in global maternal mortality rates for the period, say, 1990 to 2010.
I am Dr. C.P. Prakasham, retired professor from International Institute for Population Studies, Mumbai. Module 6, Maternal Mortality. In this module, we will learn about maternal mortality. Number 1, definition of maternal mortality. Number 2, maternal mortality ratio. Number 3, maternal mortality rate. Number 4, proportional maternal mortality. Number 5, lifetime risk of maternal mortality. Number 6, example. Definition of maternal mortality. According to the 10th revision of the International Classification of Diseases, ICD-10, the maternal death is defined as a maternal death is the death of a woman while pregnant or within 42 days of termination of pregnancy, irrespective of the duration and the site of the pregnancy, from any cause related to or aggravated by the pregnancy or its management, but not from accidents or injuries caused. WHO 1993. Pregnancy-related deaths is defined as a pregnancy-related death is the death of a woman while pregnant or within 42 days of termination of pregnancy, irrespective of cause. WHO 1993. The pregnancy-related death, therefore, is determined solely by timing of death relative to pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum period. A true maternal death requires specific cause of death information. Maternal mortality ratio, ratio. Maternal mortality ratio is defined as number of maternal deaths divided by number of live births multiplied by 100,000. The denominator is number of live births and the maternal mortality ratio is measured obstetric risk. The ratio overestimated obstetric risk by excluding from the denominator pregnancies which do not terminate into live births. As the ratio is not age standardized measure, the ratio across the countries is not comparable. The ratio is multiplied by 100,000 because number of maternal deaths are very small in number. Number 1. Maternal mortality rate. Maternal mortality rate is defined as number of maternal deaths divided by number of women aged 15 to 49 multiplied by 1000. The maternal mortality rate is an indicator of the risk of maternal deaths among women of reproductive age. It is equivalent to a cause-specific death rate because the woman in the denominator is exposed for the risk of maternal deaths. The relation between ratio and MMR is ratio whole divided by general fertility rate equals to MMR. Proportion maternal mortality. The third measure of maternal mortality is the proportion of adult female deaths due to maternal causes, PMFD. Proportion maternal refers to ratio of maternal deaths among female deaths in the reproductive age. For all these three measures of maternal mortality, accurate data about maternal deaths and female deaths in the reproductive age is required. Then the PMFD equals to number of maternal deaths divided by female deaths age 15 to 49. Another measure of maternal deaths is adult lifetime risk of maternal deaths. In the country where there is a high risk of maternal deaths, mostly African countries, there is also an elevated likelihood of girls dying even before reaching reproductive age. For this reason, the lifetime risk of maternal mortality is conditional on survival of adulthood. Adult life risk of maternal death is the probability that a 15 years old woman will die eventually from a maternal cause. In this measure, women above 15 years age is considered. Risk of maternal mortality equals to T15 minus T50 whole divided by small l15 multiplied by rate, where L15 equals the probability of survival from birth until the age 15 years. T15 minus T50 whole divided by small l15 equals the average number of years lived between the age 15 and 50 years up to maximum of 35 years among survivors to 15 years of age. The values for small l15, T15 and T50 are life table quantities for the female population during the period in question. Uses of MMR measurement. Methods of measuring maternal mortality requires data related to maternal deaths, number of women in the reproductive age and number of births. Among them, ratio has received attention for most of the researchers because availability of data of ratio is easy. MMR limitations. A decrease in the rate may simply be reflecting a decline in fertility even under circumstances where the risk of maternal deaths per birth has remained constant. Fewer births results in fewer maternal deaths even if no new safe motherhood interventions are in place. Likewise, the PMFD may change substantially if the cause of death structure is altered. For example, due to AIDS mortality. Thus, trends in maternal mortality should be interpreted in light of the risk per woman per birth and with consideration of change in fertility and the distribution of death by cause. Lifetime risk LTR of maternal mortality. Another indicator of maternal mortality is the lifetime risk LTR. Lifetime risk is the chance of a woman dying from maternal cause over her 35 years reproductive span. It accounts for the probability of death due to maternal cause each time a woman experiences a pregnancy, referred by Fortney, 1987. The calculation of LTR will vary according to the MMR ratio, and TFR LTR is estimated as Campbell and Graham, 1991. LTR equals to 35 multiplied by MM ratio, that is 1 minus LTR equals to 1 minus MMR to the power of TFR. For better interpretation, reciprocal of the LTR is most frequently used. An illustration: the calculated LTR of 0.026 is interpreted as on in 38 multiplied by 1 by 0.026 equals to 38.46. Woman will experience a death from maternal cause throughout her reproductive lifetime. Following is the procedure of calculation of MMR and LTR by using survey data. Sources of data. There are various sources for measuring maternal mortality. 1. Civil registration system. 2. Hospital records. 3. Household surveys. 4. Census. 5. Reproductive age mortality studies, RAMOS. Limitation of data source. Measuring maternal mortality depends upon accuracy of data. Civil registration system has limited coverage. Hospital records have limited to hospital deaths and pregnancies, and maternal deaths occurring outside a hospital is not included in calculation of maternal deaths. The Office of the Registrar General of India, ORGI, under the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, provides estimates of maternal mortality ratio, MMR, using demographic data collected through the Sample Registration System, SRS. Occurrence of maternal deaths is a rare event if it requires large sample size to provide robust estimate. In order to enhance the SRS sample size, the MMR estimates are divided by pooling 3 years data to yield reliable estimates of MMR. Method of estimating maternal mortality. There are two methods of estimating maternal mortality: by making use of available data through registration or through survey. The direct approach to estimating maternal mortality makes use of the available data, such as information on the age of surviving sibling, the age at death of sibling who died, and the number of years prior to the survey that the sibling died. The data can be aggregated to determine the number of person years of exposure to mortality risk and the number of sibling deaths that occurred in well-defined calendar period. Rates of maternal mortality obtained through direct method or by dividing maternal deaths by person years of exposure. The indirect approach of estimation of maternal mortality, that is the Sisterhood method, is much simpler by using survey data. Data on age of sister dates are not used for calculating the lifetime risk of dying from maternal cause. However, such an estimate does not apply to a specific reference period, since it combines the mortality experience of women during the previous 50 years. Sisterhood method. According to the procedure for the indirect Sisterhood method, Graham et al., data collected in any household survey by asking following 4 basic questions. How many sisters born of the same mother have you ever had who have reached the age of 15 years or older? Number 2. Of those sisters born of the same mother who have reached the age of 15 or more, how many are still alive? Number 3. Of those sisters born of the same mother who have reached the age of 15 or more, how many have died? Number 4. Of those sisters who have died and who are born of the same mother, how many died during pregnancy, delivery, or within 6 weeks after delivery? Columns for calculation of maternal mortality by using Sisterhood method. Column 1. Age group of the respondent sister. Column 2. Number of respondents is underestimated for the age group 15 to 19, 20 to 24. Hence, to be multiplied with correction factor, this is given as by a factor total number of sisters from 25 to 60 divided by total number of respondents 25 to 60, which gives a factor 2.73. Original reported the number of in the column number 3 age 15 to 19 was 250. 20 to 24 age group, after adjustment by the factor of 2.73, original reported number was 937. Column number 3, sisters age 15 years and more, total. Column number 4, sisters age 15 years, died. Column number 5, maternal deaths. Column number 6, adjustment factor defined by model fertility and mortality distributions in developing countries as described by Graham et al., which is assumed to be same for all maternal mortality calculations. Column number 7, sister units of exposure, that is column 3 multiplied by column 6. Column 8, lifetime risk of dying maternal cause, column 5 divided by column 7. Column 9, proportion of dead sisters dying of maternal cause, column 5 divided by column 4. MMR equals to 1 minus probability of survival to the power of 1 by TFR, that is equals to 1 minus lifetime risk to the whole to the power of 1 by TFR. Lifetime risk of maternal deaths from reports of respondent ages 15 to 49 equals to 58 divided by 2188 equals to 0.0265, 1 in 38. Obstetric risks per 100,000 live births. MMR equals to 1 minus lifetime risk whole to the power of 1 by TFR, that is equals to 1 minus 140265 whole to the power of 1 by 7.40 equals to 0.00362, that is 362 per 100,000 live births. Similarly, lifetime risk of maternal deaths from reports of respondents age 15 to 60 equals to 77 divided by 2716 equals to 0.0284, 1 in 35. Obstetric risk per 100,000 live births. MMR, that is 1 minus lifetime whole to the power of 1 by TFR equals to 1 minus 0.0284 to the power of 1 by 7.40 equals to 0.00388, that is 388 divided by 100,000 live births. Results derived from the data given in table number 1 revealed that lifetime risk is 1 in 38 women in the age group 15 to 49 and 1 in 35 women in the age group 15 to 60. The decline in lifetime risk between age group 15 to 49 and 15 to 60 clearly shows that women greater than 49 years, maternal mortality for women in the age group 15 to 49 found to be 362 per 100,000 live births, and for age group 15 to 60 it was 388 by 100,000 live births. Example, maternal mortality in India, figure 1. Maternal mortality ratio MMR has declined from 301 per 100,000 live births in 2001-2003 to 254 in 2004-2006 and further declined to 212 in 2007-2009 and 178 in 2010-2012 as per RGI SRS data. The pace of decline has shown an increasing trend from 4.1% annual rate of decline during 2001-2003 to 5.8% 5% in 2004-2006, 5.8% in 2007-2009 to 5.7% in 2010-2012, and India's MMR declined much faster than the global MMR during the period 1990 to 2010, with India showing an annual rate of decline of 5.6% as compared to 2.4% at the global level. Lifetime risk and cause of MMR. In the coming table, lifetime risk in India, states and leading causes of maternal deaths is given. References. These are the important references where you can read and get information about this module. Questions. Number 1. Define maternal mortality. Number 2. Define maternal mortality ratio and rate and proportion mortality. Number 3. Define adult lifetime risk of maternal deaths. Number 4. Discuss about maternal mortality data, source and limitations. Number 5. Brief description about maternal mortality estimates through Sisterhood method. Fill in the blanks.